Live. Okay, we are live. This is Senate Finance and we are back. We're taking up N65. And hopefully we will get that out. I am going to, we're trying to reschedule tomorrow, but I'd like to get whatever we just took up, the housing bill out if we can tomorrow. I'd like some time to walk through it at a slower pace so that we understand what it does cover. It's pretty technical. A lot of it is from TIFs, but not all of us have dealt with TIFs. So I'd like to just give us time to walk through. We heard a lot of testimony to think it through and see if there's anything in there we want to tweak. This one is either going to come out tonight or it doesn't. I'm waiting to hear from Senator Watson, or maybe we could send Senator Watson an email and ask Ann Watson and see if she would come in, or maybe somebody could go look in the hall. Could you, Marky?
Go ahead, Chris.
What am I doing?
I am Ann Watson to the door. See if she's there. All right. So we're going back to the main players. The PUC. Have you, can you come up and can you tell us if you've got any thoughts or proposals?
Well, this will be short. For the record, I'm Greg Favor for the PUC. Senator Harvey reached out to Chair McNamara earlier this afternoon, and unfortunately, they were unable to come to any sort of revisions that would satisfy the PUC. So, sadly, no, I have nothing.
Well, that's with the proposal that none of us have seen. Last night, we had talked about the possibility of extending or maybe increasing the pilot a little bit.
Right, there is a
that.
Yeah, there's a pilot program which goes through. So there's these 3-year program terms.
Yeah.
My understanding is this pilot program would go to the end of the existing
Okay.
yeah, the 3-year period. And then it would take an act of the legislature to extend that for another 3 years. That's what Darren Springs was talking about on behalf of ED. For example, the geothermal heat pump well testing. He would like to continue that. So we had an extra year to wait for you folks to take action in order to extend those pilot programs another 3 years.
Okay, but if we did that.
That is something you could do in lieu of the section 1 of the bill.
How much in the pilot, how much of the efficiency money is allowed to go to thermal?
I believe it's 2 million.
2 million. So if we up that $1 million, would that kill everybody?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the stakeholders, BED and Mr. Walk.
Okay. This is it, but
What would be
that's.
this PUC's position on that, if any?
We're agnostic on it. It's certainly better than doing what it's in section 1 right now.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Faber? Okay, thank you. Peter, what are your thoughts at this point?
Dr. Peter Walk, efficiency month, wearing my BAC hat. I think you have a strong bill in front of you. I think Senator Hardy has worked on some amendments based in response to what She heard from feedback from stakeholders yesterday. I would encourage you to hear those and ask for your support for the bill.
Okay, you're not. Okay. Then, any questions? Thank you. Senator Hardy, do you have a copy of the bill or your proposal you can share with us?
It's on our website.
On your website. You can use it.
I can walk people through it. The drafting attorney is not able to be with us. This, I never, this is not something that was supposed to be a compromise. This was to be move things enough forward that we could vote this bill out of committee and get it over across the hall.
Under.
It's under Ellen Tchaikovsky.
Under Ellen Tchaikovsky.
Right now, the only member of the committee whose name is on it is mine. I talked to both Peter Walk and Ed McNamara, and as you heard from, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Greg Faber.
Greg Faber. This is not meant to say that PUC supports even the amended bill, but I did do some changes that Ed suggested in this amendment. So if you look, there are highlights throughout it. It's a strike all amendment, and
It's a strike all?
it's a strike all because there
Is
are,
this new versions? I've got
it's draft 1.1.
1.1. Okay.
Yeah, it's 1.1 because of the strike all up with only my name on it. Yeah, and this was, I worked this up at the request of the majority leader. So, the first change is on the bottom of page 3 and paragraph C. And some of this is cleanup language because there were a lot of repetition and confusion in some parts of the bill. And so some of these were at the sort of suggestion of the drafting attorney to make the language more clear. This was removed a line in paragraph C that was redundant. So it should just now reads the appointed entity, which is Efficiency Vermont, may be used to support the attainment of building energy codes established pursuant to sections 51 and 53 of this title. Those are I think they're called, can you help me? RBs and CBs, which are the different types of building codes, and the commission, which is the Public Utilities Commission, may approve a methodology for Efficiency Vermont to quantify energy savings achieved through code attainment, which shall be counted for the appointed entity's quantitative savings targets.
What happens if they don't?
This just gives the commission the ability to do this. There's nothing that may do it. It's a may.
So they may decide to allow Efficiency Vermont to do more thermal.
No, this is about building codes.
Building
If building codes were attained, so sort of code, what is the term in here? Code attainment. If building codes are followed and it allows for energy efficiency, it can be used in the sort of calculation of energy of Efficiency Vermont's energy savings targets. This is just literally clarifying some language because there was an extra sentence that was redundant. So in going through the bill, we deleted the redundant sentence. Bottom of page 4, the paragraph 4, Ellen added this shall solely be funded. This, I actually have a note to check on this because I don't think it used to read shall also be funded by, and changing it to be solely, I'm not sure is correct. So I just have a note to check on that, but since she's not available, I can't check on that. But that is a change that was made, and I don't know if she thought it was more clear or not. So that one just put a pin in. And it could be
Okay,
fixed
so
down. the
as
road.
this says now, this funding that Efficiency Vermont would use to, this would give priority consideration given to greenhouse gas emission reductions
Yes, that
as
has been,
opposed to energy efficiency.
this was in the bill to begin with.
Yeah, but that bill is, I'm just trying to figure out what this bill says. So
This is the same bill, Madam Chair. I
Yes,
just
which
will,
got in trouble yesterday, so I'm trying to figure out what we're changing.
that's what I'm walking you through. That
Yeah,
did
that's
not,
why I'm asking you the question. It says priority consideration given to the greenhouse gas. So what that is saying is that Efficiency Vermont, or the energy efficiency charge on regulated fuels, which is the electric fee, will give priority consideration will be given to greenhouse gas emission reductions, which is a change from energy efficiency, which was the center, I think, of the controversy yesterday.
this is the same language that was in there
Yes.
yesterday. It is removed later in the bill, in a paragraph that, I talked with Ed about, that he suggested, that was unclear. So this was not changed. I think the point of the bill is to allow Efficiency Vermont to be able to, in addition to focusing on energy efficiency and electric efficiency, is to also be able to focus on greenhouse gas emissions reduction. So that sort of concept is still in this draft. The next change is on page 7. Again, this is a clarifying change to the bill that was confusing language. It's in paragraph A, and it had page 7, paragraph A, line 14. And what it had said, that it included language that was again redundant. It included in between, it had incorrect cross references. Sorry, I'm not able to do this as eloquently as Ellen, but it had incorrect cross references. It was cross referencing D3 and D4. So that is no longer necessary. 3 and 4 are within the same subsection, and it removed the language, this section and limitations on the electric revenues established under section
Okay, I need
2D2.
to just slow this down a little. It says, it
So
keeps us going. I'm back on the first section where it says priority will be given to greenhouse gas emissions. And then in 4, it says the supplemental funding programs. Okay. Oh, Ellen can join via Zoom. So that would be helpful.
okay.
It says programs under this subsection shall be solely funded. And it's the forward capacity payments, ISO payments. Any monies that are appropriated to or deposited in the efficiency fund for the delivery of thermal energy. Is that money appropriated or deposited by the legislature, or is that the efficiency charge money?
It still would be all 3 sources of funding. That
Okay.
would include the efficiency charge, the ISO capacity forward, and the Reggie
Okay,
fund.
so it's
There is language later in the bill that I hadn't gotten to yet
Okay.
that deals with the sort of protecting the Reggie funds that you were
Okay.
concerned about yesterday. So this change that I just mentioned to you is really just clarifying those 3 funding sources and getting the cross references correct. That is on page 7. The next change is page 8.
Okay.
Page 8. Pardon, where
I'm on page. eight.
yeah, page 8. This is I had a long conversation with both Mr. McNamara and Mr. Walk about the language that is actually on the bottom of page 7 about balancing least cost integrated planning and societal cost benefit test. They both assured me, actually, Peter, just for your knowledge, talked to Ed after I talked to you, they both assured me that this is possible, so that language does not change, that they can do that. Where greenhouse gas emissions reductions is removed is on top of page 8. It is put in the list back. It is put back in the list. The priority language remains in the beginning of the bill, but in this part, it is part of the broader list of things that the PUC has to balance. And so and this list is a new clarifying list to what was in the original statutes to sort of get away from the 157 word sentences that you mentioned yesterday, Senator Brock. I agree that those sentences are too long, and so I requested this list. And this was in the bill yesterday, but this would just add greenhouse gas emissions, greenhouse gas generations, reducing them back into the list form. And I see Ellen is there. Ellen, we are on page 8. I just explained line 6, and then the addition to the list of the reduction of greenhouse gas greenhouse gases. So if you would like to take over from here, that would be great.
So Ellen Tchaikovsky, Office of Legislative Counsel. Did you want me to share my screen? Is that
Okay.
or
That would be helpful.
okay?
Yeah,
Go, let's do this. Okay.
then everyone can see it.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
A little larger if you can do it. That's more than great. Okay.
All right. So you are on page 8. I'm sorry. Did you mention about reducing generation of greenhouse gases back in the list?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the last thing so it's the bottom, the ISO New England language that we added down there. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the other elements of this list was an existing provision about providing efficiency and conservation as part of a comprehensive resource supply strategy that includes implementation of electrification. An additional language has been added to address the issue around the forward capacity market. So it adds language saying, and supplying energy efficiency resources into the ISO New England forward capacity market or any future energy markets where energy efficiency can support a reduction in cost for all ratepayers and generate revenues for Vermont ratepayers through participation. So the intent was to add specific reference to forward capacity market savings generation projects to the list of priorities for the efficiency utility.
They don't have that now?
It's not spelled out explicitly like that. And I think this was to address part of the concern that came up yesterday, where if they're spending less money on energy efficiency projects, that would lead to less revenue generated by forward capacity.
So what is this saying? That they will continue to provide the same amount of efficiency or just,
No. No, it's adding to the list of objectives that they're supposed to be balancing in this process.
okay. So this is a balancing act, and who is making this? Is this? Is this
Yeah.
Efficiency Vermont that is doing this, or is this? Who's doing this?
No, so if you look up farther on page 8, the intro language is that the commission shall, it's a PUC, shall look at as they set the budget for Efficiency Vermont, these things.
So they can control through the budgeting process. You have to bring in X amount of dollars in efficiency savings into ISO New England. And with that, is this list in priority?
No.
So this is just a list. It is not a prioritized list.
Correct.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah.
So, Ellen, so I understand now that this is not a prioritized list, but does this mean that whatever the PUC comes up with here, that there has to be a decrease, a reduction in cost for all electric ratepayers? Is that what?
No.
Is it?
It's enough efficiency to,
No. No.
Yeah.
So there, once again, there are a lot of words in this sentence, but really it's asking about balancing projects that can support forward capacity market revenues, and the or is about the type of market. So, or any future energy market. So this is saying if there's a different entity other than ISO New England, you could probably get rid of this clause if you'd really like to. I don't know if there's ever going to be another entity that's doing forward capacity savings or efficiency savings like this. I think this was just to be covering all the bases.
okay,
So we could have it just put a period after market.
Yes.
yes,
Okay, all right.
this is just, okay. But the PUC gets to set the priority here. So as they're working this through and negotiating with New England, they can decide which one of these they want to emphasize.
So I don't know if it's as specific as that is their process, but there are these lists of things that the General Assembly has already asked the PUC to
Right.
look at when they're evaluating Efficiency Vermont's budget and how they set their priorities. This is adding to that list specifically inclusion of projects for the forward capacity market. I don't think you can be more I don't know if here you can be more specific than that.
Okay.
But this is an attempt to
This
address
is
your
what
concern.
things they have to consider, but what they finally decide on will be, they will make the decision about, given the present markets, the present conditions, everything they're looking at, what's going to get included in this budget.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's keep going.
All right, so then another change is down on page 13. So there are a couple of changes made to the language that previously said equity and justice. This is reframing it so that it just reads provision of services for customers with low and moderate income. Any appointed entity shall ensure provision of services as follows. It then keeps 25% of the annual budget for customers with low to moderate income and the 12.5% for small businesses and nonprofits. It then does add a definition of customer with low income and customer with moderate income. the Efficiency Vermont already has these definitions that they're working with internally. They just do not appear in the statute. So this is the definition that they use. It's up to 80% AMI based of HUD's recommendation, or HUD develops that number, and then moderate income is between 80% and 120% of area median income.
Okay, and there was concern with this yesterday about, is this in addition to the monies that the cap agencies are already getting for weatherization? And is this, yeah, I think, you know, is this a new program, or is this saying there's going to be more money going in? Maybe it'll end up being less money. We haven't heard what they're getting.
You did hear what they're getting already. I think Efficiency Vermont
said that provisions would go to help low and moderate income. And 25% of the budget will be for residential services, but with low and moderate income services include weatherization and other efficiency measures for the purpose of reducing household total energy cost, total energy burden. I'm assuming that total energy cost and burdens is new and not, or is that it? What are you doing now, Peter? Is it just the electric energy cost and burden, or electric usage? What does Efficiency Vermont do now that this changes? Other than give you perhaps more money?
Doesn't give any more money. It requires the existing spending to increase for low and moderate income customers. For example, for weatherization, which has come up.
Yeah.
For low income weatherization, there's the state run weatherization assistance programs that the cap agencies run. In addition, 29% of the folks who come through our weatherization program would qualify and have chosen to come through our program instead. We do our best to tell them that they're eligible, but they choose to go down. So we're doing the work in the low and moderate income space now. This is just, you're saying this is a priority for you that you want us and everybody else to do more of.
Okay, I'm just wondering what, if anything, we're changing here because it's underlined, or is it just clarification that you are doing this? Because there was questions yesterday about you're already giving money to cap agencies. How?
This is not, they don't give money to cap agencies. That comes through DCF. This is part of the
Weatherization money comes to these?
yes. So that's on the 2% tax on fuel.
Okay, so
This is part of what they already get at Efficiency Vermont. This is just calling out saying that they need to prioritize the low income.
can you right now, all right, so this says you need to prioritize low income as opposed to, because there's been complaints that you just did the low hanging fruit, at least there were in the beginning.
I'd like to argue,
I know,
Madam Chair, that you've incentivized us to pursue the lowest hanging.
I would not, yes. But there were mutterings to my right at one point, many. Okay, so I think this is just changing the focus. All right. So Ellen, let's move on.
So then on page 19, so on page 19, this is language that was already in the bill. I have moved into a session law provision because it's a one-time provision. This is about the PUC evaluating if there should be a low income energy efficiency rate. And then because Burlington Electric already has a rate, if they do that, they can continue to use the rate they already have. But this is just moving what was already in there.
A low
So this is asking the PUC to evaluate whether or not there should be a different
Okay.
energy efficiency charge for low income customers.
Okay. That's an investigation.
And then this is the last thing that's new. This wasn't in the bill at all, but this did come up in your prior conversation. So there's an ongoing, and we talked about it yesterday, the Energy Modernization Act is an ongoing pilot project that does basically what this bill is seeking to do, and that pilot project goes until 2026. And so this is asking that on or before April 30th, 2026, the PUC, as part of its report due under that act, the Energy Efficiency Modernization Act, which is the pilot project, they shall make recommendations based on the results of the pilot program under that act and on how to best achieve least cost integrated planning and greenhouse gas emissions reductions from both the thermal and electric sectors.
Okay, so this is this is the pilot program we have now. And they have they're being asked to add something to the study that they are doing.
Yes, and this
Okay.
is Ed McNamara suggested this.
All right. And this is it.
If I might, one thing that came up yesterday, I believe that Senator Brock brought it up. And there's a paragraph in the bill about the PUC setting the rate. Can you get to it, Ellen?
Yeah, it's at the top of page 4.
This paragraph D at the top of page 4, the annual revenue required to be raised by the electric efficiency charged authorized under subsection D shall be the equivalent of inflation adjusted commission approved electric efficiency budget in 2026. Based on what we were hearing yesterday, I was thinking we would remove this, but when I talked to Mr. McNamara, he said, please no, do not remove that. That would make it really hard for them to figure out what their budget was supposed to be. So the reason this was left in there is for the PUC to be able to establish the budget for the utility, the efficiency utility. So even though it seems like this is just sort of a cost inflator, what it is that sort of, it sets what the initial budget is and how they're supposed to build off of that. So
My understanding is that throughout the period of time that this is in effect, the budget is to remain flat. Is that correct?
yeah, there's not
Except
supposed
for, there was the inflation adjusted approved budget. And is that the inflation adjusted on a one-time basis? Or is that annually between 26 and the period of time that this is in effect?
I think we heard yesterday that it's a 3-year,
But is it 3-year flat rate, I guess is.
yeah, that it'll be next, they're negotiating now and next January, I guess, the new budget, thus the new rate goes into effect. And so everything is,
Well, it's unclear as to whether there is any inflation adjustment in 27 and 48. Or is this the fixed rate based on exactly the inflation adjusted rate arrived at in 2040?
my understanding from yesterday, and I'll look to Mr. Faber to deny or prove that the rate is set in a 3-year increment and that the budget is there. And I remember Mr. Walk said, freeze it. So they will go in now and say, you know, inflation's gone up X percent, we've got to pay our people X percent more, whatever. And so we need an inflationary budget adjustment, or they might say we need more to do more. But the budget will be set and it runs a 3-year cycle. It doesn't automatically get adjusted by inflation every year.
So the rate is the same in 27, 28, or whatever the numbers are. Is that?
That's my
Like that.
understanding, and no one is standing up yelling no. Okay, So we know that the PUC is not thrilled. Is this better than we had yesterday? Looking at people.
I'm very appreciative of what you've done, Senator Hardy. Thank you. And I'm ready to move this amendment forward, but I just put it
Well,
on for
I'm
the chair.
waiting to
chair.
see if anybody wants to comment out there. Senator Matos, did you?
No, I was just curious about, what the public service department has to say, any of the utilities that maybe were online.
I would be,
Department is here. So, okay. Ruthie?
Thank you very much for the record. Phil and Switchy with Leon on Public Affairs. I currently have a GOP Department of Public Service. Certainly appreciate the work that Senator Hardy has put into this amendment and we find that forward. I have personally not had time to really process the words on the page here, and my client has not had time to review and fully understand what this would mean for their ratepayers. Fortunately, at first glance, it feels like some of these amendments are largely kind of clarifying the city to address minor tweaks and don't address the fundamental challenges that you heard outlined yesterday by the Public Utility Commission, the Department of Public Service, and litany of distribution utilities that are partners with EBT. By prioritizing GHG reductions in this bill, you'll still be doing what you have heard is problematic for costs and customers without further review. You heard from Mr. Favor that while some of these changes do reflect a conversation with the chair of the PUC, that my understanding, I would not want to speak for them, is that they're still comfortable with it. With respect to where this discussion started at the beginning of this afternoon, this hearing, Senator Cummings appreciated bringing the Energy Efficiency and Modernization Act, EMA, Act into the discussion. GMP and other distribution utilities have been supportive of the EMA proposal across the, I think, 2 times that it has been approved by the legislature. We've been supportive because it allows for a defined portion of the budget to be used for this type of activity. There are guardrails in place and checkbacks and accountability. So that's why we have been comfortable with the EMA program. I think we would be supportive with an extension, which refer to the committee and those that should go along with an increase. But if the committee feels like this is a must pass bill this evening, that would provide, I think, a broader array of stakeholders, speaking from the distribution utility perspective, if I may, for some of my colleagues in the room here. And obviously won't speak for DPS or the PUC, but that is at least the framework that we know, understand, have discussed.
Right.
And that would allow for more time to vet whether a more systemic shift in how the EC is used to be taken on.
Okay.
Again, I feel like this is moving very quickly. And if the committee wants to move forward and understand where we are in the timeline here with crossover deadline for folks to come to this committee by the other
That's
committee,
right, and the other bodies.
that would provide, I think, my client with some comfort to shift it back to EMA as opposed to sort of doubling down again. And again, I appreciate some of Hardy's work here, but it still does not change the fundamental challenges that you heard yesterday from the array of stakeholders.
I guess the thing that would help me the most is clarity by everybody who's commenting on this bill, given the lateness of the hour. Do you suggest that we adopt it or don't you?
I can speak for my clients that's drafted today, even with Senator Hardy's work, we can't support this.
And I heard the same thing, correct, from the PUC.
We continue to oppose the bill.
All right, and I would think, Madam Chair, that I would like to hear from the others who commented yesterday as to their clear opinion, so that we get at least a definitive. We may not agree with it, but the definitive opinion instead of
Right. And
we take part in those.
Andrea?
I mean, this is fine from here. Where you want me to
Yeah, I
go?
guess you can just introduce yourself.
Okay. Right, we're here. I'm here, that's why I'm gonna talk. My name is Andrea Cohen. I'm with Vermont Electric Cooperative. A lot of what Dylan said on behalf of GMP, we feel similarly. I've been at VEC long enough to have been through both EMA deliberations and drafting and agreements, and we have a long history of being cooperative towards trying to find a bridge to get to the, what we think really is the appropriate funding source for doing carbon reduction with other fuels that are not electricity. We've been paying for electric efficiency work all these years. It was really time to figure out the appropriate price signal to be, if we're gonna do this work, it shouldn't be on electric ratepayers. So similarly, as much as all the great effort to try to, we just don't have a lot of time. We're still, from what I can see from the draft, we're not comfortable. It's not different enough from the concerns we raised yesterday about what do we need to do, who should do it, who should pay. Those are still there. Much more open to a study, which I'm sure isn't that palatable, but if we were going to extend an email like for a year or something, what we'd really like to see is a report back to say, okay, what was that money spent on? Was it effective? Is this the kind of thing we should make permanent, or that feedback loop is really important if you're going to do pilots, right? We should kind of get that conversation.
So Ellen, can we put a report back in here as to the amount of energy efficiency, the amount of greenhouse gas emissions that we've deleted? And then I'm going to ask you to see if you can help us all understand exactly what this bill does, because it's very technical. We've got it very late, and I think we're all fairly confused. So I think it's a report back on, did this work? So on what, I don't know if it's the volume of greenhouse gas, I don't know. The greenhouse gas emissions, and we may have to do this. I'll give you a chance to do it, and we could ask it to be put on in approach because they've got to see this tomorrow. But a check back in 3 years as to the results of this change. Senator Chitney, can you sit so I can
Got big notes.
see? She's not there. She's up there. And does anything in this bill require the PUC to make any decisions away from it? Do they still have the power to decide what they emphasize, what they require? Is this, I think I'm hearing, is essentially saying among the things that Efficiency Vermont can work on, like, is greenhouse gas emissions. We're doing a lot of that already with incentives for electric vehicles. Is there anything that changes in this bill that takes their power away to make decisions balanced, or does it add to their responsibilities?
So that was a very long question, so I'm going to try to answer it by saying this does make changes to how the PUC would go about deciding how to set the budget for Efficiency Vermont.
Okay.
But those decisions are policy decisions for the legislature to evaluate. Is this the way that you want them to be doing that work?
Okay.
I just want to make a clarifying point that this is just a strike off for section 1. So section 2, which is the Affordable Heat Act, would still be part of the bill.
Oh, right, yeah.
Correct.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
Change.
1,500. The long sentence still in there the 150 words.
No, I found another one. It was 174 words.
For the record, I pitched rewriting this entire section. That was not the
Sorry,
way
Alex.
that this went.
Maybe in the house, you can clean it up.
Okay,
And for the record, I agreed with Ellen.
all right.
Hand me back.
At some point. But we could, whoever has her phone number could text her, and tell her none to come back. If we vote. I need, oh, there she is.
Magic fingers.
All right. Let's. Committee, do you need to hear from anyone? We've got to make a decision on this tonight. Do we need to hear from anyone? If we want to do something, we need a motion to amend to start with.
As long as I would move to amend the S65 using the language from Senator Hardy as a finance committee report. Did I say that right? I was getting this.
Sounds good to me. I'll second.
You need a reference here.
Drop 1.1.
Got 1.1. The Hardy amendment.
The other one.
I don't know, it's your job. I'm not sure what to do with that. I'm just handing it to you.
That's your.
You are highly trained clerk.
Okay. Draft 1.1. All right. Is there further discussion? If that matters.
Yeah, I just feel really uneasy, especially, we haven't heard from the public service department about, their interest is the public's interest. So I'm really uneasy about voting on this amendment and hearing from, other stakeholders with the utilities and whatnot. Especially with this bill not needing to pass this year. I understand the budget implications for Efficiency Vermont, which I understand, but I think this bill is not something that needs to pass right now. But that's just kind of where I'm at. I'm not feeling super confident in this, and adding in last minute reports and long sentences and things like that. I'm just,
No, I think we'll ask approach to
Yeah,
add a
yeah.
report back. And basically, we have been using some of the efficiency charge money in a pilot to do thermal efficiency. This formalizes it and says, if I'm understanding, that the PUC can continue to do that. And the utilities, because if this rate goes up substantially, we are charging electric users. And we have been, to some extent, electric users to lower usage in fossil fuels. We've done a pilot doing that. It's still ongoing. It ends in January. This and fossil fuel permanently, or at least until we decide to change it into things that they can use the money with. And Ellen, tell me if I haven't gotten this correctly. But this adds that in, says they have to. It says that 37% of the money has to be used to help low and moderate income people and small businesses with efficiency and greenhouse gas reductions. And it says, but it doesn't say they have to. I'm not hearing, and tell me if I'm correct, that 37% has to go to help low income people and businesses reduce thermal, does it? It just says thermal is among the things it can help them with. And that includes weatherization. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. So it expands the scope in general.
What happens, just for clarity again, and this is probably one of the biggest issues that I have is clarity. We have this pilot that is ongoing. It's now, we extended it once, it's supposed to end in January. I haven't seen, and there may have been some reporting, but I'm assuming there's reporting coming as a result of the pilot. But the question then is, what happens to the activities that are being conducted in the pilot in January?
I can answer that question and I also say a couple more things. So the pilot, there have been annual reports from the pilot every April. So there's another one coming out next month is my understanding. And this bill, one of the things that I added to it in this draft is a report in the final report that they come back with in April of 2026. So next year, that's when the Public Utility Commission would have to make recommendations about basically how to do all this stuff better. That's not exactly what it says, but you get it.
Yeah.
And so that is the report and study. And as I said, I added that.
It's not, I was really asking, is there anything in current law?
There are sort of annual reports, I believe, Alan, that come out
Yes.
every April. They started, I think we passed this in 2020, and there have been annual reports every year since then. So I'm sure you can find or get those reports. And then the one final report would be next year, and that's when we added to that final report that they have to make recommendations. There's also a report in this bill about the low income efficiency rate, and whether or not it have such a rate, and the PUC would report back to us on both of those things. So this energy efficiency modernization study, which is what it's called, we're adding this sort of like, hey, tell us recommendations to it. I also just want to make really clear that this amendment that I brought to the committee, first of all, I did it at the request of the majority leader, and I did it based on what I was hearing from senators around the table and your concerns. I never, ever presented this as something that was a compromise between the people in this room who were not happy with the bill yesterday. I never presented it that way. It was never intended to be that way. I did not have time, and I did not have the charge to do that. I did talk to two of the major stakeholders, Efficiency Vermont and the PUC, just to get some feedback from them, to bounce some ideas off them, but it was done very quickly. This is not to be presented as a sort of compromise, but rather a, hey, here's some things that might address some of the concerns I heard from senators who are the people who get to vote on it. So never tried to meet everybody's needs.
So there are reports back.
Yes.
And those reports go to natural resources generally. We can get them. I'm sure they're on a website somewhere we can find.
They come to you too.
They come to us too? Okay, they're on there somewhere.
The question that I had also, the secondary question was, based on the pilots that are ongoing right now, that end in April, I believe, of next year, or January, what, if anything, happens in the event that we do nothing to either adopt, to carry out, to continue, to so on? What happens to the work that's being done under the pilots? Does it continue or does it stop at that point?
I think they were only authorized for a certain number of times.
That's what I remember.
If we're not,
Yeah.
if we don't
Right, they
reauthorize
end.
them, it just ends.
They end. If the reports come back
And that's the problem
negative,
with
we
the
can change whatever we've done now. If we get a surprise, we can,
well, we can't change it in April. That's the problem.
what about,
If we're still here.
oh, we'll be here in April. There's always the vehicle. If something needs to be done,
Something, may need to be done
do
to
it.
continue, and whether or not it would rise to the level of importance to do it. It depends on what's in the reports.
Right. Okay, further discussion, and this is on amending All right,
Yeah, I'll just, thank you, because I just think we want to be clear what we're voting on here.
this
We're
is the
voting
amendment
the
that we've
amendment to
just
the
gone over.
S65 as presented to us from Natural Resources.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to vote yes on this amendment. Only because I think it's slightly better than what was in there.
Thank you, Scott.
I still oppose the efficiency charge, and if that gets divided out somewhere down the line, I will continue to vote against that, but I'm going to vote for this because I think it's slightly better than what was in.
I'll take it.
Further discussion, if none, the clerk will call, I guess we can do, this is an amendment, so I don't think I have to call.
Well. Never got the turn.
That was not in your workbook.
I think we should call it.
Alright. So what am I doing? The amendment?
Yes,
Draft 7.1.
Not an option on there.
Oh, 1.1, sorry, 1.1.
1.1 to 7.1. Yeah.
Alright, Senator Hardy,
Yes.
Senator Chipman,
Yes.
Senator Brock,
Yes.
Senator Gulick,
Yes.
Senator Maddows, no. Senator Beck,
Yes.
Senator Cummings.
yes.
It's 6-1-0.
Now move S65 as amended favorably.
Second.
Did I do that right?
Yeah,
I think that's right.
I'm not going to report is favorably.
Report
You move
favorably
as amended.
as
Okay, further discussion on that, getting down there. All right,
I will just say I'm gonna vote to move this bill along, but I don't fully understand the changes that have been made. I fully admit that, and I don't know where I'll be on the floor, but
okay. Okay, further discussion, if not, clerk will call the roll.
Senator Hardy,
Yes.
Senator Chipman,
Yes.
Senator Beck,
yes.
Senator Gulick. Yes, on my own volition. Yes. Sorry.
Senator Brock,
No.
Senator Maddows, no. Senator Cummings,
Yes,
5-2-0.
okay.
Is that a reporter on?
Yes, and I think, I guess we have Senator report the amendment. Pardon? No, I just asked Senator Hardy, she wrote it, we understand it. Committee, I think that's it for the night. Okay, we have